Thank you all for attending the second session of the quarterly month-long learning series on lending. My name is Ellie Barton Harding, and I will be presenting our webinar today. So during the presentation, all of the phones have been placed on mute to eliminate the background noise. We'll stop periodically to answer any questions you might have, and you may also use the chat feature in your GoToMeeting session to submit any questions during the webinar. To utilize this function, you would click on the chat panel in the control panel, enter your chat in the provided field, and then click send. So our CU-based escrow processing tools let you set up escrow accounts tied to CU-based loans, record the escrow payment information, such as if it's taxes or insurance or fees, automatically process your incoming loan payments to fund the escrow, and then pay funds out of the escrow account quickly and efficiently. Now the system includes features such as configurable codes for your escrow payees, or also known as your vendors, codes for your escrow types, for example, first half taxes, winter taxes, insurance, whatever code that you might have, an automated process for opening the escrow account and linking to the loan at the time that you actually create that loan, and then quick, simple procedure for adding escrow payable information. So the escrow accounts payable system, if you want to call it that, is designed to streamline that process of processing payments from escrow savings to the payees, such as your tax authorities or your insurance companies. And it's patterned after, the program is patterned after payroll processing. So this tool lets you quickly gather all records for a particular payee, such as when you need to pay your winter taxes for your local municipality, withdraw funds from your members' accounts, and then cut a single check. Or alternatively, you can transfer to a GL account, and it does provide a reconciliation report which shows all members that are included in the payment. So the escrow analysis tool completes the escrow processing system, and it's designed in accordance with RESPA regulations. Escrow account deposits and disbursements are analyzed on an annual basis or on demand, if you prefer, as loans are actually paid out. So based on the result of the analysis, which forecasts activity for the coming year, mortgage payments are then adjusted, members are notified, and then reports are generated to fulfill all of your reporting requirements. Now, although most commonly escrow is used with mortgages, however, CU-based escrow processing is flexible enough that it can be used with your home equity lines of credit or any other open credit loan product that you may have out there as well. Then this is that important piece of documentation I mentioned, is the escrow processing in CU-based reference document. Now on page 5 of that document, you're going to find 5 key pieces of information with regard to escrow processing. And this document can also be found on our website at www.cunorthwest.com. You'll click on reference and then the CU-based release documents. So first thing we're going to get started with this morning, as with most products, would be with our configurations. We're going to look at the configs that are necessary for activating escrows, first of all, in your loan category configurations. So what you would do, access menu MNCNFB, which is loan products, and you're going to select option number 1. You're going to select the applicable loan, mortgage loan category from the listing. I'm working with this category 16, First Mortgage 365 today. You would highlight it and click on select. So then once you get inside the configuration, you're going to press enter to go to the second screen. You're going to check this box right down here at the bottom that says to allow tax escrow accounts. This box only appears for the process types of M for mortgages or L for open-end lines of credit. And you're also going to want to make sure to set your escrow field up here in the payment matrix as well in the upper right-hand corner. If your escrow priority is left blank or it has a 0 in it, the system is going to ignore your escrow account when processing payments, and any payment to the escrow savings account then at that time would have to be done manually. So as you see on the screen, your payment matrix may vary at your credit union. The recommended order is 1 for escrow, 2 for interest, 3 principal, and then 4 for your fine amount. And at this point, you can click End Update down here in the lower left corner, and this is going to save your entries. So the next thing we need to look at is to consider escrow partial payments. Your members can make multiple payments in the same month on their 365-day interest calc loans, but the system will be smart enough to make only one payment towards their escrow per period without manual intervention on your part or having to use a sweep account. So CUBase is going to accept the payment, spread it over the payment matrix while advancing the next due date appropriately. In addition, CUBase is going to understand when the escrow transfer has been satisfied and when it's delinquent. So it doesn't matter what method the member uses to make the payments. They can be made through teller posting, online banking, AFT, phone transfer, direct mail. All of your relevant posting programs have been changed to keep track of the partial payments toward a full escrow transfer on these 365-day calc type loans. Now, the important note on this one is this option affects only 365 calc type loans. Partial escrow transfers are not supported for 360-day mortgages or for interest-only loans. So now, the following, we're back on our menu MNCN FB option number 1, and this is the first screen in your configuration. So these 2 items must be met in order to offer partial escrow payments to your members. First, your interest calc type has to be set from the drop-down box at 365. And then your payment calc type on this side has to be set at principal and interest. Then to allow your, to configure your loan category, then to allow your multiple escrow payments, you're going to access the payment control screen, which is found right down here on the lower left of the screen. We're still in the same loan product config, keep in mind, MNC and FB number 1. So once you click on your payment control, then it brings you to this particular window. So to allow your partial pay for your escrow partial payments, your loan config needs to be set up as you see on the screen with all of these checkboxes selected. Then you would press Save to continue. Now page 9 of your reference document explains in detail again how this works, the how behind it all. So now we're done with the actual loan category configuration. Now we're going to scoot ahead and look at the configuration of your escrow savings product. So you're going to access your savings product configuration menu, which is MNCN FA, option number 1 for share products. Now you can set up as many different escrow dividend applications as you wish. This could be helpful for you for tracking different types of escrows separately, keeping your mortgage escrow separate from other types, for example, maybe from your HELOCs or from your other open-end products that you have. It's recommended also that a different account suffix range be used as well. So what you're going to do at the top, you're going to enter an unused 2-digit code for your share dividend type, and then you're going to press enter. Now, all of these options that you have, as well as your dividend information, is going to be set up in accordance with your own credit union policy. However, in order for this particular share account to work with the escrow processing, the account application type that you see right here must be set at tax escrow share products, or TX type, in the dividend application configuration. And as always, when completed, be sure and click Save. So now we're going to take a quick look at configuring escrow payees. So our payees are the third-party organizations to whom you make your payments on behalf of your members using funds from their escrow savings account. Examples would be your city and county government, your property taxes, your insurance company. So now what we're going to do to take care of this part of the configuration is we're going to access our extended loan processing menu, which is menu MNEXLN. Once you're there, you're going to select on option number 5 to configure your escrow payees. Now your payees are going to be listed in alphabetically by code. So I would recommend that you use an appropriate naming convention for your codes. So to maintenance, what you would do is select an existing one in the list, then use Enter to proceed to the second screen. To create a new escrow payee, you're going to click on this Add button right down here in the lower left corner of the screen. So then you're going to fill in the information about this particular payee. Most of this is honestly pretty self-explanatory. However, with regard, I have pointed out right here to the cushion number of months. Valid entries on this are 0, 1, or 2 months, depending on the amount of cushion you choose to hold. RESPA allows you up to 2 months of escrow deposits to be collected and held annually. So this field is entered on the payee record, but the number must be the same for every payee. So enter the number of months cushion based on your escrow policy at the credit union. If, however, this payee happens to be for your private mortgage insurance, your PMI, the cushion on this must be set at 0. And then you press Enter to save. And then there's more about this particular requirement of what goes in these fields in the reference document on page 12. So now we're going to look at the escrow type configurations. From our same extended loan processing menu, we're going to choose option number 10, configure escrow type codes. Now, escrow type codes let you group different types of payments together so that they can be processed in a batch. So, for example, you might have separate escrow type codes for property taxes, homeowners insurance, flood insurance, association dues, and private mortgage insurance, or your PMI. So when processing payments to a payee, such as your city government for your property taxes, you can choose which escrow type should be paid for a particular payee. And this allows you, for example, to keep your summer and winter property tax bills separate for easier handling and analysis. So I just had a quick question here pop up a few minutes ago. Rebecca, the answer is yes. I believe Shelley did make it from Tongass. You're here, right, Shelley?
I'm here.
You're here. Yay. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you are welcome. So now what you would do at the top to configure your escrow type codes is you would enter a 3-character code or select an existing one from the list if you needed to maintenance it, and then use Enter to proceed to the second screen. If the escrow has, again, the PMI, then its three-character code must be PMI. This is going to cause the following required text to print at the end of the analysis. You have the right to cancel private mortgage insurance in certain circumstances. Please contact your credit union for additional information. So that would be a reporting requirement. So then, you're going to enter a description for the code. So next, choose one of the listed format types to define what fields and labels should appear on the escrow disbursement record, this is on page 18 for the reference document as well. Now, this format type uses tax, insurance, or other. So when using this, then the format uses field labels which say, for example, if we're in tax, total annual tax or tax due date, and it makes reference to the tax. If it's an insurance format type, then it adjusts and it uses the verbiage of maybe total annual premium or premium due date, that type of thing. And if you choose O for other, then this format uses generic field labels such as total annual amount or amount due date. And so that would be a valuable option for you. For generic fees, we use the example of condo association dues, for example. And then you go ahead and press enter to save. Now, escrow accounts can be created and linked to a loan account either at the time that your loan account is opened, as we're going to look at first, or later after the loan account is already in place by using your Open Update Escrow Disbursement Records command on that extended loan processing menu that we were just looking at. Now, a note to throw in, the tax escrow savings accounts must be opened using one of the two methods that we're talking about today, either when the loan is created or after the loan is created to attach it to that loan. You cannot open an escrow savings account using the same feature that you would use to, say, open a regular savings account or a CD. So first we're going to add an escrow account when a loan is created. So we're going to go to our lending functions menu and MN loan, where we create the loan account to open the loan. Now, if setting up escrow at the same if setting up the escrow at the same time as opening the loan account, you just simply check this Create Tax Escrow Account on the loan creation screen, and then you just proceed as usual. That's it on this screen. When you use Enter then to create the account, the next screen lets you create the escrow savings account and also links it to the loan account. So what you're going to do is enter your dividend application and a new account reason code. And as always, if you do not know what they are off the top of your head, you can always click the spyglass next to it and select from the options that are provided. So then you're going to proceed directly to the Setup Escrow Disbursement Record. So you're going to click on Add or New down here in the lower left-hand corner. And you're going to choose both an escrow type code and an escrow payee code. Again, click that spyglass lookup button to see a list of what your credit union's configured codes are. I selected a type code and a payee code that we just created. So when you're ready, you're going to use Enter to go ahead and proceed to the final screen. Now your layout on this screen is going to depend on which type code was selected. So as you recall, I chose tax, so the appropriate screen appears here for me to complete. Had we have chosen insurance or PMI, the appropriate screen would appear with fields open that are applicable to those types. So in our layout here for tax items, the system uses labels like total tax, tax due, as you see here in the center towards the left. Now this tax field or tax format contains one additional field which is not found on your other two formats, and that is tax term, as you see right down here. You can view how other screens will look on page 19 of the reference document. And then after completing all fields, use Add Update in the lower left to save changes and return to the main setup screen. I may note that this tax term field is here. That's what makes it different from the other layout types. However, it's a field that's not used at this time, so you really simply just ignore it. So now once you have pressed enter, the system is going to display this pop-up window to prompt you for confirmation of how the update should affect the member escrow record. So you're going to click continue to complete. Now to add an escrow account to an existing loan, you would simply access the extended loan processing menu, option number 1. And then once you enter the member number and loan account suffix, the processing screens are exactly the same as what we just went through. Okay, now are there any questions so far on any of the information that we went over? And of course, if you think of one, 7 seconds after I start talking again, feel free to use the chat. Okay, so if there aren't any questions, then we're just going to go ahead and keep on plugging on. So now what we're going to do, we're going to look at on the dispersed funds for escrow payee. So the main focus here of the escrow payment disbursement system is the bill or the invoice that your credit union receives from that third-party authority, such as your tax assessor or your insurance company. And the system is going to allow you to select the escrow payee and then display all of the members who owe money to that payee. So after reconciling the bill against the list, you will post all of your disbursements or withdrawals in a batch and create an offsetting payment. The payment can be either to print a check or credit a GL account for alternative settlement. To perform this function, we'll remain in our extended loan processing menu, MNEXLN, and we're going to select option number 2. So this brings us to the process disbursement screen. The list that you see at the bottom of the screen will show any batches that were started but not actually posted. And this is going to allow you to work on a batch for a while, then temporarily stop, come back to it later if need be. So to continue working the batch we're working on, you would select the item in the list and then use select or enter. So this is the first of several screens that are used to post payments to an escrow payee. You're going to start by choosing an escrow payee code and an escrow type code. You can click on the lookup button next to it to see a list of what's been configured, and I chose the 2 that we already created. So again, I chose the payee code, escrow type, and went ahead and pressed enter. Now, I entered a date of 7/31 on the previous screen, and so the system is going to pull in all escrow records with a due date on or before the date that I chose. So the payee I chose only has one record to select from. Now to be able to enter an actual invoice, what we're going to need to do is click on Clear Work File down here in the lower right-hand corner. This is going to bring you back to your Processing Disbursements to Escrow Payee screen. You go ahead and press enter again. And then on this screen is where you would enter your invoice number, total amount to be paid in this particular batch, And then this dollar amount that you enter will be used to balance the batch against all of the individual payments that need to be made. So if you wish to pay on behalf of a single member account, for example, such as if you're closing a loan and settling down its escrow account, you'd enter the member number account base. Otherwise, you want to leave that field blank and just use enter to proceed to the next screen. So then this brings you back. Excuse me, I went backwards, not forwards. There we go. So this is going to return you one more time to your process disbursements to escrow payee screen. And at this point, you can go ahead and post. What you're looking for at the bottom is a net difference of 0. When we first accessed this screen, it had the scheduled amount, the disbursement amount. We couldn't post at that time because we'd actually not created the invoice. Now that we've created the invoice, it brings us back here. You always want to go for a net difference of 0. So now, when you click on Post, the confirmation screen that you see, confirmation window you see here on my screen is going to appear. So on this window, you can decide whether the third detail report, which we're going to look at in a few minutes here, should include your member account numbers or not. So this is going to depend on whether you'll be sending the detailed report to the actual payee. And as you know, for privacy reasons, reports sent out to your third parties should not have credit union account number information on them. So since the first report that will be generated will probably be sufficient for most of your third parties, this flag actually is usually left checked. So then you're going to click on Continue. Now, if this payee is set up to receive a payment via a GL transfer, you'd use Enter to complete the posting and return back to the initial screen. Or if the payment is made by check, you're going to continue to this final screen. And this screen indicates how many checks are being printed, as you can see at the bottom, for each of your disbursement options, and then including your payee, member, or member and payee. So this setting is set in the configuration for your escrow payee. When you're done, you're going to go down here. You're going to click on Print All Checks to produce the check and then return to the initial screen. So an additional important note to throw out here, escrow records for annual amount and next due date are updated when the check is cut via this process of disburse funds to escrow payee on our MNEXLN menu. If a check is cut other than during this normal billing, the member's escrow record will need to be updated via open or update escrow disbursement records, which is also on that same extended loan processing. Real important to mention that, because should you choose to use miscellaneous checks, for example, in order to just cut the check, then that means that you're going to actually have to manually go in and make the changes. Now for the 3 reports we talked about, which are printed automatically when payments are posted, the first is your payment register. And this report is the one, it really would be appropriate to pass on to the payee with the remittance check or other payment method. It has member's name, dollar amount, tax ID, but it does not make reference to the member's member number or account number. The second report is the exception report. And this report is going to show any records that were suspended and therefore not paid. And then number 3 is the detailed transaction register. And this report is intended for your records. Account number will show only if that box was checked back a few screens ago on the confirmation window. And this report is actually broken down by who the check was issued to, the payee, the member, or both of them. Now, so a couple of additional reports out there. In this same extended loan processing menu, you have your escrow disbursement report or your escrow payable review reports as well. And then there's the loan to value analysis report, which can be found in the menu reports E. That is a handy little report for establishing the validity of continued PMI. So now we're going to look briefly here at the escrow analysis configuration. So you're going to go to your extended loan processing menu, MNEXLN, option number 11. And the configuration for this part of the process is what we see on the screen. It's just the one screen, and that is it. In your reference document, pages 44 through 47, explain in much greater detail the guidance you may need to select the correct options on this screen. And essentially, your configuration of your escrow analysis system consists mainly of the credit union's method of handling the result of the analysis. So RESPA regulations allow some flexibility when total deposits for the year exceed the amount of the disbursements or are short of the funds required to satisfy all of your escrow invoices. Escrow forms are generated to mail to your escrow account holders. And if your policy stipulates that members sign and return their annual escrow account disclosure statement, you can configure the software to print a signature line on the form as well. An example of what that statement looks like is on page 54 of your document. And then factors considered in the configuration are relating to handling over or short balances in the escrow account subsequent to your analysis. So your escrow analysis config drives the method used to reconcile escrow disbursements and deposits with payment adjustments. And within RESPA guidelines, you will choose the action to take when escrow accounts have a surplus, are short, or are deficient. And then for the final segment of the escrow processing for the analysis report and the member forms, I again would refer you to the reference document 48 through 55, and that's in the interest of time for the webinar because it can go way on. I can present you another 30 slides. As well as the value of that information, that document goes into far greater detail regarding the information that you need to know. So now, are there any other questions? And no questions at this time. As you know, 5 minutes after you hang up from the presentation, if you think of something, please just shoot me an email. I hope that everybody gained some sense of familiarity or some understanding of how the escrow process, either to verify that your credit union is in fact complying or utilizing the product as they need to, or if you're a credit union that is looking toward maybe adding escrow products for their members, then I think this is a good start for you. We went through it basically step by step on how to configure everything. So it's that simple. It's really not a complicated process. And again, I want to thank you all for attending with me this morning. I apologize for the glitch on what happened at the beginning, but we just started over and got everybody up to the same place. And again, I look forward to meeting with you next Wednesday, the 15th, 10 a.m. for that third session of our month-long Learning Lending series. And this one we're going to be talking about lending and collection reports. And I hope everyone has a fabulous day. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellie. Thank you.